Hey everyone, Michael Bodner here with another video. I know in the last one I told you I had signed up for a BMW i4, and in my next video I would show you the i4. Well, after 4.5 years of ownership, I have sold the Tesla Model 3, but I'm not in a BMW i4. This is an Audi e-tron, and I've had it for about a month now, and I want to tell you all about it, why I picked it, and some of the pros and cons of switching from a Tesla Model 3 over to a legacy auto manufacturer such as Audi. So come along with me and I'll break it all down for you. Before we get into the pros and cons, I just want to give you a little bit of background about me. In case you haven't seen my channel before, I was a very early adopter of the Tesla Model 3. I took delivery back in February of 2018. Had that car for quite some time, loved it, had some issues, but ultimately loved the car. After Tesla made some hardware improvements like the double pane glass, which was supposed to make the cars quieter, the black trim, the power trunk, an improved center console area, better padding in the rear seats, I thought it was time to upgrade, and I went for a 2021 Tesla Model 3 long range. Dual motor. My first one wasn't dual motor because it was so early. That car was an absolute dud. I call it a lemon. Lemons have to have safety issues, so it wasn't technically a lemon. Had numerous services that just could not repair the issues. And fortunately, that was the time when used car prices were surging. I was able to flip the car for a profit, ended up with a short wait to get a 2022 Tesla Model 3 long range. I was hopeful that was going to remedy the issues with the 2021. Unfortunately, really just the same thing. A lot of quality issues, a lot of fit and finish issues. All three of my Teslas required immediate paintwork right after taking delivery, and other services as well. Tons of rattles and squeaks from a brand new car. And again, just pretty bad road noise. The double pane glass didn't do anything because most of the noise is road noise. It's not wind noise. So that's my background. After 4.5 years of total Tesla Model 3 ownership, it was time to move on. All right, so I found myself at a bit of a crossroads, looking for a sports car, think Porsche 911, or a luxury car. And obviously that's a hard mix. Which is it and what did I really want? I actually thought the BMW i4 was going to be the perfect blend of a car for me, the M50 variant. So you kind of take a performance Model 3 and up the luxury just a bit. That was what I was looking at. Test drove the E40 version. Loved it. Again, as I told you in the last video, I put a deposit down on it, but it had a 1-year wait. And that 1-year wait gave me enough time to figure out if there was anything else in the market that I liked. My next test drive car, and don't hold it against me, was an Audi S4. That's a gas car. Audi S4 was my dream car for a very long time, and it just never happened. Test drove that car, absolutely loved it. And let me just say, if they had the car on the lot in the spec I wanted, I'd probably be driving an Audi S4 right now. Fortunately, they didn't. It's near the end of the model year. I was going to have to order a 2023. And with that amount of time to put in that order, that gave me time to really just sleep on that, think about that, and realize I never want to pump gas again. All right, so I love Audi. I've had Audis before. Absolutely love them. Had Volkswagens before. I love the VW Audi group. Big fan. So what about the e-tron? I've never been a fan of SUVs, but I'm willing to at least test drive it and see what they're all about. I've got a friend who rants and raves about the e-tron, and that was worth enough for me to go try to see if I can get a test drive in one. There are 5 local Audi dealerships in my area. There's more, but there's 5 in a fairly close drive. I started looking through their inventories, and sure enough, my closest dealer had 2 cars in the exact spec I was looking for. And that is a premium plus trim, white exterior, and black interior. That's what I was looking for with the e-tron. So they've got 2 of them here at my local dealer. I call and I said, hi, I'd like to test drive and possibly buy one of the 2 e-trons you've got on the lot per your website. And they said, sorry, we don't have any e-trons here. So a little discouraged, but I thought, you know what? Let me ask them to check. And they checked, and they asked me to give them the VIN that was listed on their website. Gave them the first one. They said, sorry, that car was sold. Unfortunately, it's still on the website. Now I'm a little bit more discouraged. I said, could you just try the second one? They look at the second one, and we are in luck. That car's at the port. And best yet, it has not been spoken for yet. So I said, okay, how do we lock this car down so this one's mine pending a test drive? And they said, really simple, fill out a credit app check, and we won't run your credit unless you take delivery of the car, and then sign off on the price sheet. And there's no dealer markup. It's just MSRP all the way. Feel bad even saying that because I'm used to not paying MSRP before the Tesla days, but that's it. The price is the price. No markup. Car is mine so long as I like the test drive. Leaves the port 2 days later. 2 days to get down to South Florida from the Jacksonville area, which is where the port is. And then it goes through dealer prep. Dealer prep's pretty lengthy on an e-tron. They charge it all the way up to 100%. They test the pack. They thoroughly go over the car. And let me just tell you, that is a welcomed thing coming from 3 Tesla deliveries in a row. This car was flawless from paint to condition of the interior and exterior. Just everything's right. The car's perfect. Go on my test drive. Do I like an SUV? Don't I like an SUV? Obviously, you could tell I like an SUV. I'm sitting in it right now. Love the car. Sign off and take it. We always hear about the dealership experience. They're going to try to get you to buy all sorts of other things. They tried. I said I wasn't interested. They didn't even try again. They were so nice, so much attention. I felt like I was the only person there. There were other people buying cars, but they made me feel great versus feeling like a number. When you go for a Tesla delivery these days, you're one of 100 people leaving with a car, and they treat it that way. They move on about 15 seconds after you have your key. So fantastic experience. Can't say enough good things about it. All right, so it's actually been about a month now, and I'm ready to take you through those pros and cons. What is it like leaving Tesla for a legacy auto manufacturer? Let's start with the mobile app. Tesla's mobile app is good. It's got some pros here that the Audi app doesn't have, namely phone as a key. That's a really nice feature. You don't need a key with the Tesla. It connects really quickly, and usually. Sometimes it doesn't work, but usually the Tesla app connects really quickly. And then the last good benefit to the Tesla app is it works off of Bluetooth when you're close by. So you're able to unlock and lock the doors in the car and run some other functions pretty quickly before it even connects over an internet connection. That's all really nice. Now, ultimately, the Audi app basically has all the same functions. I can pre-cool the car. Bonus points. I've got air-conditioned seats in this car, and I could also preset those. So I walk into a freezing cold car with cold seats too. Really nice in these hot South Florida summer days. The app's a little slower to connect, but within a day or two, I got used to about how long it took to connect, adjusted for that, and I launched my air-conditioned interior and seats before, at the right point in time in my walk to the car, and it's always cold when I get in. So mobile app, like I said, a little bit better on the Tesla side, but overall, negligible difference. One other plus for the Audi app, I've got an iPhone, so I can't speak to Android, but you can program long press. They give you 4 choices. I just use it for one. So basically, when I long press on the app icon, I can start cooling my car. So it's really easy without even having to launch the app to get those cold seats going and the air blowing in the car. All right, this one might be a little trivial, but just entering the car, the Audi greets you. You've got dancing LED lights front and back, dancing design on the dash when you get in, and a nice welcome sound. Like I said, maybe a little trivial, but a nice greeting to your luxury vehicle. What about starting the car? So this is one where we score some points to Tesla. Teslas, you just get in and step on the brake and you're ready to go. So with the Audi, there's a start-stop button. I don't know why. It probably took me about 2 days of being in the car without realizing, is it on or isn't it? Leaving it on after I was done driving, though fortunately it does turn itself off after about 30 seconds. But a start-stop button, keep the key in your pocket, so the key never has to come out of your pocket, but you do have to press the button to actually start the car. Not a big deal after a couple days. Next thing you see after you start the car, really as soon as you get in the car, is displays. I was never one to complain about having one screen in the Model 3. I thought it was fine. It did start to frustrate me a little bit as Tesla started to roll out software updates. I felt like some things were taking a step backward and you kind of got stuck with it. So there was no customization. They made it hard to get to some commonly used functions. Some of those things were corrected, some still weren't. at the point in time that I sold the car. But this Audi has 3 screens. So I've got my virtual cockpit right in front of me, and that is highly customizable. You can change the layout, change where things are, change the view. Do you want to have a map behind your speedometer and your efficiency, your charge, and your power output? You can do that. I like to keep the music or audiobook that's playing, that information usually in the center screen. If you use the autonomous features, you can keep that travel distance to the car in front of you up on the screen as well. So lots of options there. And then, of course, you've got a main display off to the right. So I'll usually have my navigation up there, but you can have anything else you want there. You want your music there, your audiobooks, navigation, or other apps. They're all able to be there. And then there's a third screen down below, which is basically a permanent screen for your air conditioning, your HVAC controls for heated seats, cooled seats, always there. This car actually has 4-zone climate control. So another screen in the back, a 4th screen, and I no longer have to hear my kids say, it's too hot, it's too cold. Everyone picks their own temperature and worries about themselves. So that part has been great. I can't say enough good things about the screens, and Audi's virtual cockpit is really cool. I recommend checking one out and seeing it for yourself. All right, so moving on from the screens is a little bit more about what you can do with those screens. So let's talk about infotainment. I used to always be among the many who would say Tesla is a software company that just happens to make cars, and that software is one of Tesla's biggest advantages. I have taken a complete 180 on that. Tesla's software is their biggest disadvantage. You heard that right. It's their biggest disadvantage. Why do I say that? Because you live in a walled-off garden where Tesla has to give you what you want. Do you like Spotify? Okay, then you're lucky. They have Spotify. Do you want to use Apple Music? Sorry, you can't. So if you kind of get where I'm going with that, I now have Apple CarPlay, and I use an Apple iPhone. I use an iPad at home. I use a MacBook at work or an iMac at home. I'm all in on the Apple ecosystem. Having a simulation of my iPhone on the screen gives me my Apple Maps. So yes, you could send your navigation directions to the car in the Tesla. In this case, I just get in and I'm also already navigating there because it's from my iPhone's maps. Your phone book in a familiar way that you're used to using it. Do you like Waze? Do you want to see where the police are or other issues? You can use Waze. You could put plug share up on the screen. Text messages, you can have it read them to you. Siri can dictate messages, works really well. I'm a big fan of audiobooks. So one of the big things was having the Audible app in the car. So I don't have to do it through Bluetooth. Huge, huge game changer. Calendar integration's flawless. You can also do things like WhatsApp. I get my Microsoft Teams messages while I'm driving. Again, just can't say enough good things about using Apple CarPlay. One very important note that I will add, though, about CarPlay. The car comes with wireless CarPlay, which I thought was going to be amazing. You just get in and it works. I found that to lack some stability. So sometimes the music would cut in and out. Had a couple of phone calls where all of a sudden I lost the person. Screen went blank in the car. So I switched over to the USB-C hardwiring. Charges my phone at the same time, and it has been perfect ever since. So even if your car comes with wireless CarPlay, I'd at least recommend trying wired. You should get better sound quality and more stability there as well. All right, so let's move on to an area where my wife says this is what Tesla's severely lacking. Mind you, she drives a Tesla Model 3 as well. So I've actually owned 4 Teslas between the two of us in the last 4.5 years. But that is a 360 view of the car, blind spot monitoring, real blind spot monitoring. We'll come right back to that one in a second. And rear cross traffic alerts. Why Tesla can't put a little light in their mirror to tell you somebody's in the blind spot, I don't know. But no, having that information on a center screen is not the right place for it. When I am switching lanes to the left or right, I'm not looking down into the center of the car. That's just not the answer. I'm sorry. So the Audi puts it in the mirror. Actually, I love the way they do it. It's not actually on the mirror glass. It's in the mirror housing, so only you see it. And it's got a little bit of a tint over it. So it doesn't really bother you at night. It's not blinding. Gets the job done. Flashes if you're, put on the blinker and someone's in the blind spot. So it works perfectly. 360 top-down view of the car. Really cool. Also, this car has 1 million camera angles. They're all unlocked. and the cameras are a much higher quality than the Tesla. So I also use this to pull into my garage. This is bigger than a Model 3, so I'm trying to get as close to the wall as possible. There's a camera mounted in the front bumper where it should be, and I can basically kiss the wall in the garage without hitting it. Makes it really, really simple to do that. Rear cross-traffic alerts, as I mentioned. This has been my wife's biggest pet peeve. I don't know how many times I tweeted to Elon before I canceled my Twitter account. But rear cross-traffic alerts, it's so simple, such a basic safety feature that so many cars have. This one has it, and it works. You get the nice little arrows on the screen when it senses and detects someone's coming from the side, beeps, lets you know. There's no fear of backing into a car coming from the side, hitting a kid who's chasing a ball down the street. It's just a basic safety feature that Tesla, for being such a quote-unquote safety-focused company, just drops the ball on. They missed some basic safety features there. All right, so I didn't think I would make this a category before I bought the Audi. I didn't even know about this feature. But let's talk about red light and green light notification. I think right at the moment I was selling my Model 3, Tesla gave the green light chime functionality to all Tesla owners, not just those who have full self-driving. That's a nice feature, right? You get to a red light, you kind of stop paying attention a little bit, maybe you look down at your phone, and the car alerts you that the light turned green, so you're not sitting there causing a safety issue. What I did not know the Audi has is red light detection. And when I say red light detection, I mean you pull up to a red light, or you are pretty far away, you're approaching a red light, and the car tells you how many seconds left till that light turns green. Mind blown. Also, when the light's green, the car will let you know if you maintain speed, you will make the light, and it will still be green when you get there. Now, that is tied into an Audi Connect package that costs about $30 a month. I'm highly unlikely to keep that feature, but I would be remiss if I didn't say how cool that feature is. I think before you buy the car for a feature like that, make sure that works in your area. It is based off of data. So if that data feed's not available in your area, you won't get that kind of detail. But it is down here in South Florida. Most lights that I pull up to have that information while I'm still on this free trial. So really cool feature there with the green light, red light detection. All right, so moving on to autonomous driving. I would say don't get me started on Tesla full self-drive. I've made videos about that. What a joke. Having paid for that once, would never, ever pay for that again. It is so overpriced and so far behind that basically everybody who buys it will sell their car long before they ever realize the benefit of it. But this video is not about Tesla's full self-drive. As a result of that, my next two Teslas, the 2021 and the 2022, I just took basic autopilot. Ultimately, really did everything I needed, right? You hold your lane, hold your speed, speed up, slow down, take curves. That's all you really need on a road trip to really reduce your stress. Basically, autopilot with the Tesla worked well. I had no complaints. Every so often, you'd get that phantom braking that would kind of give you a heart attack. But you luckily got away with it. But ultimately, fairly stable, worked fairly well. One thing I will say, when I bought the 2021 Model 3, that was June 2021, Tesla made you accept the fact that they've gone to vision only. So they removed all the sensors, and they're only using cameras for autopilot at that point. And they said, very soon, the car will have parity with the functionality you had before. So before with the sensors and the cameras. What I can tell you is 13 months later, the point in time that I'm selling the car or have sold the car, it was actually still lagging behind. Close, but lagging behind the functionality of the previous car. So when Tesla says soon, take it with a grain of salt. They also said FSD, full self-drive, was coming soon. That was 5 years ago. The next-gen 2020 Roadster, we're almost at the end of 2022. We haven't seen that. And the Cybertruck, I stopped following, but that's well delayed. And those were all well delayed before COVID took delays to the next level as well. So, like I say, take that part with a grain of salt. But let's move on to Audi. How is their autonomous driving? Frankly, I didn't even care if it had it. I stopped using autopilot for the most part. But solid, right? Keeps the lane, keeps a good distance from the car in front of you, adapts to changing speed limits on the road. Very easy to change the settings on with the stalk behind your steering wheel. Really no ping-ponging. The Tesla system's a little better at staying centered in the lane. Maybe the Audi kind of weaves a little bit, but just a little bit. Otherwise, I'd say it's fantastic, works really well. There is a feature, again, I think it'll be tied to the Audi Connect that I won't use long term, but if you're using Audi's navigation, which I don't because I use CarPlay, you can actually take curves in the car and it will slow down for you very well. Or you can come up to an intersection, it will stop and then it will accelerate as you get through the intersection. So some pretty cool features there. But again, I won't be using those, so I use Apple CarPlay instead. All right, let's move on to windshield wipers. Yes, windshield wipers. If you're looking through the chapters in the description, you probably skipped this one. But if you're watching, windshield wipers. Had a Tesla Model 3 for 4.5 years, and in 4.5 years, for some reason, they just could not figure out how to make good windshield wipers. Good auto windshield wipers, I would say. Whether they would just not come on when it was raining, or they would alternatively be on at full speed with just a drizzle, or for about the last year, this constant chatter, especially at low speeds, where I would see the wipers go tick, 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 tick across the windshield, and just drive me absolutely crazy. So what can I say about the Audi is we don't have to talk about it. They work like every other car. They work. You have a nice wiper stock with full controls on it to change and adjust the levels. They just work. So we don't need to talk about that anymore. One thing I will say, Tesla has I'll call it a design flaw. It's an intentional design flaw because the car is aerodynamic. But I'll show you a video of it while I'm talking here, or a clip at least. The windshield in the Model 3, because of the aerodynamic nature, comes up right to the A-pillar. And what that means is anytime you use washer fluid and you're driving, you end up with washer fluid all over the side of the car. The Audi, like most other cars, has a lip where the A-pillar extends a little bit beyond the recessed windshield, and you don't get washer fluid all over your car. Minor detail, but I prefer that. I'll take that minor range hit to not have blue washer fluid trailing all the way down the side of my white car. All right, shifting gears to seats. I had black seats in my first Model 3 because that was the only thing you could get. Love the white seats, so I went with those. I call it the white seat experiment. No matter what you see online, do not trust or believe anyone. Those seats stain. Anyone who has seats that aren't stained are probably just more lucky than good. They are easy to clean, but stains don't clean. Dirt, coffee spills, Gatorade spills, those are the types of things that are easy to clean. Tesla seats are easy to clean, but those white seats stain. But honestly, in this car, I went back to the black seats. How would I compare them? These seats are much more comfortable. The air-conditioned seats are so much better. Honestly, I would never get a car again without air-conditioned seats. Audi also offers massage seats, but for this year, they've moved them into the Chronos trim, which I didn't want to go with because I didn't want to spend even more. But more so, I didn't want to get the bigger rims and take the range hit on it. So, wanted the massage seats. They're amazing, but unfortunately not in this trim. But like I said, comfortable seats, and can't say enough good things about them. Just love sitting in this car. Moving on to Homelink. In the Tesla Model 3, Homelink, for some reason, premium price car, you have to get that installed at the service center afterwards. It's an aftermarket add-on. That's frustrating. Take your brand new car, they've got to pull the bumper to put that on. They could damage it. It's just unnecessary. All cars should ship with it, at least at a premium trim level. So that's already annoying enough. And then I was experiencing constant failures of that, especially with the auto open, auto close, but even sometimes with the manual operation as well. In the Audi, I didn't realize this, but it turns out you can store up to 8 gates and garage doors. So that's pretty cool. More than the standard 3 that the Tesla has. It also has GPS awareness, which I thought that was unique to Tesla. So that was cool to find out that others have it. It doesn't have auto open and auto close, it just basically pops up. But it's also easy to reach because it's always visible on the screen. And again, like some other things we've talked about, it just works. And what more could you ask for than features that just work? All right, so I've buried this one a little bit further down the list, but wind noise and road noise, something that just, for lack of a better way to put it, drove me crazy. Was probably the straw that broke the camel's back as to why I left having a Tesla. The road noise is deplorable. That's the right word to use. They added double pane glass. Wonderful. Only problem, the noise is road noise. It's not really wind noise. I think they're missing insulation in the wheel wells, and that's why you hear a ton of the noise. Whether you have, I've had Model 3s with the 18-inch wheels and double pane glass, and I had 19-inch sport wheels and no double pane glass. They're both bad. Like I said, it's a lack of insulation. I don't know if that was to save weight, save money, or both. It's just a bad miss. They could have found somewhere else to save. That ruins the experience of the car. Drove me nuts. Any road that I would drive on that wasn't freshly paved and perfect, I just didn't want to be in the car anymore. You'd have to pump up your music so loud to drown it out. Sometimes I would be on the phone. I would struggle to hear the person I was talking to. That's how bad it was. Sorry, didn't mention how does the Audi do in that front. Well, as you might assume, luxury vehicle, this car is silent. It does not matter what road you are driving on, absolutely silent. I actually left my office a couple days ago with a migraine headache. Not the most pleasant thing in the world to drive with. Couldn't have any music on to drown out road noise. Didn't need it. Car was so quiet. I was so thankful at how quiet this car is. That means Tesla can do it. They can make a quiet car. They just choose not to. All right, moving into fit and finish. So from an exterior standpoint, the Audi, at least in my experience, is far superior. And like I said, I've owned 3 Teslas myself, one with my wife, so that's 4 total. And just about every Tesla I see on the road has some kind of funky, wonky, misaligned panel. I think it's a bigger deal. It's blown out bigger on the internet than it really is. But when you see like Model X's, those doors never line up, and you're talking $100,000 plus cars. From an interior standpoint, the materials used in the Model 3 feel a little cheap, is probably the best word to use. Things creak and groan. If you want to hear a funky noise, put the windows down in the Model 3, in the front doors, and close the door. That'll make you feel like you're not driving an expensive car, or at least one that cost as much as you paid for it. In the Audi, it's solid. No panel gap issues, no issues whatsoever. Interior feels like expensive materials, solid door thuds. Again, everything you would expect in a high-end luxury car. I will say, bonus points to Tesla, though, believe it or not. They've moved away from that gloss black piano trim, the fingerprint magnet. Audi still seems to love it. So, fingerprint magnet here. I've got my Audi cleaning cloth at the ready to wipe this thing down all the time. Moving on to range. So you would probably think range would be higher up on the list, but it's not. And I actually think that that's a great thing that it's this far down on the list for me. So I think range, or lack thereof, supposedly, is why people skip the e-tron and it's not sold in high numbers. Well, let's talk about that. Rated range on the e-tron is 222 miles. Based on my driving habits, which are the same habits that I had with the Tesla Model 3, so we'll have a fair comparison there. The car suggests, I haven't done a range test from 100% to 0, that I should be able to get in the 240 to 250 mile range. I'd say, if anything, 235 to 245 is reasonable. So what does that tell you? Audi is understating the range on this vehicle. 222 rated, and I will get, like I said, somewhere between 235 and 245 on a road trip. Now, over to the Tesla, I think it was 350 miles of range in that car. Realistic road trip was probably somewhere between 260 and 270. So yes, a little bit more than the Audi. Granted, this is a big SUV, and that's a small sedan, but really poor compared to rated range. So why is that? What is my opinion on why that is? Well, if you look at the EPA tests, they do some ridiculous testing at like 20 miles an hour. I don't know the specifics, so I don't want to misquote that. But they're not real-world tests. And so for that reason, you really can't trust the range because you're never going to get it. You're never going to realistically get it. Whereas Audi and honestly all of the other legacy auto manufacturers, even some of the newer ones, they seem to all understate the range. So why does Tesla do it? I'd say because they can. Because you've been conditioned to range being an issue as to why you should get rid of a gas car, so they want to make that number as big as possible. But honestly, you just end up with a little bit of disappointment that you don't go nearly as far as the car says you should be able to go. I want to make the point that more important than range to some extent is charging. Does it charge fast, and are there charging locations when you road trip? We should take a quick step back on that and say, how often are you actually road tripping? Most Americans have a commute well under 100 miles daily. So basically every EV on the market covers your 95+% use case. Okay, but back to that road trip concept, right? Electrify America is really picking up. I look at the PlugShare app. CCS chargers is what the Audi uses. They're everywhere I go. I'm not going to say they're everywhere because I don't know where you're going. This car charges at 150 kilowatts. One of the nice things is that there's a big buffer in the battery pack. So without boring you on the details, it basically means there's more battery that they've not unlocked for you to use, which means when you are charging, if you've ever supercharged a Tesla, you'll notice if you've got a really low percentage, it'll charge really fast. And then as that percentage climbs, the Tesla will dramatically fall off and start charging slower. With the Audi, you can get that 150 basically all the way up to 80%, and it still charges pretty quick past 80. Now, I'm not going to say one is better than the other. I think the supercharger network is a differentiator for Tesla, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. If I did, I wouldn't have bought the car. We road trip so infrequently, let's say 2 to 4 times a year, and I feel pretty comfortable with the CCS network that's available. The capability this has to charge at a good, steady 150 kilowatts. It's going to get me everywhere I need to go. And if anything, it shouldn't be that much slower than the Teslas. We've also just heard the news that Tesla might be unlocking access to charging for other vehicles in the US here pretty soon. So that's just another good advantage to a non-Tesla, even more compatibility. One other thing here, the Audi uses J1772, the public standard, for level 2 charging. The Tesla does not. So the Tesla will have an adapter if you need to use a public charger. But what do you do if you're like me and you own another Tesla at home and you happen to have a Tesla wall charger? Well, I'll put a link in the description down below, but there is a third-party company that makes a Tesla to J1772 adapter. So think about what that means. You have a Tesla wall charger. You don't have to buy another $500 charger at home. You get this adapter. You could still use your Tesla charger. But even better than that, you can use Tesla destination chargers anywhere you go. Out for dining, for entertainment at a hotel, I can use a Tesla wall charger, destination charger, with my Audi seamlessly with this adapter. So check it out down below. Best $150 you will ever spend if you get an EV that's not a Tesla. All right, so final topic area I want to go over is driving dynamics. Now, I'm not going to compare the driving dynamics of a sporty sedan and a bigger SUV. That just wouldn't be fair. So what I will say is I love the drive in the Model 3. I love the sporty feel. Maybe it's a little bumpy and bouncy at some points, but overall, love the drive of the Tesla. No real complaints there. The Audi, likewise, again, different mindset. I'm driving this for comfort more than anything. And it delivers on that. It has a few different driving modes, so you can actually go into a comfort setting. It'll raise up the suspension and kind of soften the dampening in the suspension as well. So you get a nice, comfy feel if you want that. If you've got a bad patch of downtown road, drop it into comfort mode, or I should say raise it into comfort mode, and you will really enjoy that. It also has the opposite end of the spectrum. It's got a dynamic mode, which will improve throttle response, lower the car all the way, tighten up the suspension, gives it that sporty feel. It's not going to push as hard as or pull as hard as a long-range Model 3 from an acceleration standpoint, but it gives you all the sporty you need. And then I find myself in between that. I use the efficient mode most of the time, which will keep the car low for better aerodynamics. It reduces throttle response a little bit, but you have all the go you need to pass people on the highway. It also actually alters the AC as well, so saves you some range with the AC. So really cool. You could play with it, make it your own. But again, not a good direct comparison going from a sedan to an SUV. They're both good at what they do. All right, so time for my final summary and wrap up. Do I have any regrets? No, I have no regrets. I absolutely love this car. I can tell you my wife's shopping for EVs right now. We're looking at things like the new Genesis, the VW ID4, maybe another one of these e-trons, the BMW i4, the Ioniq 5, the EV6. I don't know if I'm repeating any of those, but there are lots of options out there, and they're all compelling. They're all reasonably priced, so we will probably find something really soon and potentially end up with no Teslas. I think it's really important that Tesla pushed the envelope with electric cars. I wouldn't be sitting in an electric car from another auto manufacturer, from a legacy auto manufacturer, if Tesla didn't push the envelope. So immensely grateful there that I'm able to get into a compelling electric vehicle made by another auto manufacturer. That is moving the Tesla mission forward. So success and job well done to Tesla there. All right, so high level summary. We've got better fit and finish in the Audi, silent ride inside, huge thumbs up to Apple CarPlay, no Elon, topic for another day, but not the biggest fan in the world anymore, and solid real world range. Last but not least, another capitalizing on short-term craziness in the auto market. That was 2 Teslas in a row that I made a profit on flipping. So can't really complain with that. For the things I'll miss the most, one pedal driving, though after a month I'm already used to this setup. Phone as a key and acceleration. You don't get jolted back into the seat in this car like I did in the long-range Model 3. All right, so if you've made it this far, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, if there's anything I didn't cover that you'd like to know, leave me a comment down below, and I'll be glad to fill you in on any of those other details. But that's been it. Hope you all enjoyed, and hope you enjoyed driving an EV. Catch you all soon. Bye.